Thanks for picking up the signal and tuning in to 98.1 FM, WQAQ, the soundtrack of Quinnipiac. It starts now.
This close from a Super Bowl. We'll be back. Oh man, this close from getting into the Super Bowl. I mean, like, we are right there. Alright, 8-8. It's alright. Rebound year. Oh, okay. What is happening? Alright.
And we're back here on Infinite Sports Radio, and joining us now is a man that needs no introduction. He hit 50,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel and is now up to 55,000, just about. And that is the great Tom Grossi. Tom, it's great to have you back on again. How are you today?
Hey, guys. Don't call it a comeback, even though that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on again. Obviously, the last time that we had you on, it was the Packers bye week. It was late November. And we were all talking about how the Packers had a relatively a good chance to beat the San Francisco 49ers. And and good God, that was not fun to watch. And then the NFC Championship game arrived, and the Packers were there. And
were they though? Were they really there? I would make an argument that they weren't.
We don't really know, but I said maybe they have a chance. And unfortunately, that did not happen. So to kind of get the bad stuff out of the way, what happened in these two games?
Yeah, back in those days when we were full of hope and optimism and had our youth, and now we're just sitting here as frail old shells of people. Yeah, it was really bad. I think the first time that we played, I will be the first to admit, looking at the 49ers, I didn't take them for real for a while. It took me, I started getting there like around the Rams game, like when they beat the Rams the first time. I was like, okay, like they're pretty good, but the Rams, they were having troubles within their season as well. So I was like, okay, what have you. And the thing is like they kept on proving me right. Like they would barely, like they won against the Redskins like 9-0. And I was like, oh, okay, like there it is. Or like they beat the Cardinals 28-25. Like it's a 3-point game. And I was like, okay. And then, I feel like everyone just underestimated and they just came so unready to play. And that's why I was like, okay, for the NFC Championship game, I mean, like, I didn't think that the Packers were going to win, but like you said, like there was, obviously I'm a fan and I'm going to hope that my team wins. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, they're going to learn from the first game, they're going to not let Kittle go all over them, they're going to really limit the big explosive plays. And to be fair, they did. They just didn't do anything against the run. Yeah. And like Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 6 whole times. And that was enough to beat the Green Bay Packers. And he missed 2 of those throws. And that was still enough to beat the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. And I put a lot of that on, obviously the coaching. Yeah. And for like, Mike Pettin did not adjust it. When you see the first quarter and you're like, okay, it's still a relatively close game. Yeah. And then you see like the second quarter and you're like, okay, they're up, triple scores. They're just running the football. That's all they're doing. They never changed that the entire time. Even when the Packers were like sniffing a comeback, they were just like, no, we're still going to run it. And then nothing ever changed to be like, hey guys, maybe we should just like sell out and try to stop the run. And it was ugly to watch. But I will say that the past 2 NFC Championship games that the Packers have been in have been blowouts. They've been the Falcons, and then they've been the 49ers. And I do have to say that even though it's like crushingly depressing, I will take a blowout loss any day of the week compared to what I saw in 2014 with the Seahawks. I will take that because at least I know by halftime that it's over. At least I know. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I can consume all the alcohol that I'm going to consume now. And like, I'll be okay. Like I'll know by, oh no, we lost. Like I have a whole half to process it and watch my team play like garbage. And it's not like, just utter heartbreak. So at least I have that going for me. That's the only positives I can say out of the 49ers game.
Yeah, I mean, like, watching that game, I was very Very tense. I mean, we told you that we're both Giant fans, but like I said, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I want this guy to get another ring, and I was silent pretty much that whole game. Because I wanted to, if they won, I was going to explode. I was going to be like, yes, finally, they're going to get there. And I was dead the whole time. I usually tune into your live streams, and watching like the highlights of like the big play to Adams. You know, you're still excited. You know, but for me, I was so deflated. I wasn't even cheering. I was so deflated. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening again.
You see, that's the problem. If we never faced them to begin with, and like this happened in the NFC Championship game, I'd be like, you know what? Okay, we came unprepared, but like it's the same exact team the same exact building for the NFC Championship game, and for you to show up exactly how you showed up in Week 12. I mean, like, you know, even from the very first drive, you know, not going for it on like 4th and 1, 4th and 2. You know, and I think, you know, Matt LaFleur got a lot of crap for that. And I understand, you know, wanting to play like it's the first drive. But like I feel like considering how bad of an ass whooping we got the first time, you're just like, you know what, maybe you just go for it. Like, is at least, you know, if it doesn't work, I'm not gonna fault him for it, because it's not like the Texans going for it, you know, on like 4th and 8 from their own 30-yard line.
Yeah, that's completely different.
Yes, it's 4th and 1. It's against the best team that's like left in football. Like, let's just do it. Because you know what? Even there's times where Matt LaFleur was like super duper aggressive, and it didn't work all the time. But I still was like, you know what? At least it's something different. It's not a Mike McCarthy approach. It's not a super conservative run pass. And I like that aspect. But you know, I feel like we just went in with like no game plan, and we got out of any game plan that we had very, very quickly because we fell down a ton of points.
Yeah, because I think the Packers definitely wanted to establish the run, because that's something that they've, you know, haven't really done in years. Well, I shouldn't say haven't done in years past, because you had guys like Eddie Lacy and James Starks, who I do miss. You know, obviously Lacy got, you know, a little.
I'll always remember his rookie season. Rookie Eddie Lacy was a monster, and it was just so beautiful.
I know
to
those first 2 years. I mean, that guy was unbelievable. Okay. I miss those teams. I really do. It was really fun watching those two teams.
Well, you know, and with Aaron Jones, you know, it was so crazy too, because like you look at the games that we won, especially when Devontae Adams was out, we won because of Aaron Jones. There was one game in there, I think it was the Detroit game, we won, like Jamal Williams took the majority of it. But, you know, getting Aaron Jones involved and showing how good he could be within this offense, like it's crazy the weeks that we didn't utilize him, that you're kind of just like throwing your hands up and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. And then at the same time, I'm just like, okay, you know, it's growing pains, you know, for a new offense, a new head coach. And I think you saw the epitome of those growing pains in the NFC Championship game, and just be like, listen, like, we're not there yet. Like, we're just not.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I agree. It definitely had to be coaching. I mean, I thought I had a little bit of hope because I believe the 49ers did get the ball to start the game in the NFC Championship game. And they stopped them on I think they went 3 and out. On a 3rd and 1, they stuffed them, and I was like, okay, that's good. That's exactly what they needed. And then just after that, it was just, I mean, once Mostert got a touchdown on a 3rd and 8, I was just like, oh.
And it was like a 30-yard run too, and you're just like, this is
I mean, just he had a lot of runs. Okay, it was just not. I was like, oh God, here we go. This is not what I wanted. And you know, because I said my family and I, we love to root for Green Bay. That's our team to root for when the Giants, you know, continue to make us depressed. And my mother and my sister, like, since the playoffs started, just are talking about how good-looking Jimmy Garoppolo is and all this stuff. And I'm just like, listen, you cannot go against Aaron. And you know what? I said, hey, if you're going to root for Jimmy, go ahead, because if Aaron ever makes it to the Super Bowl, you're not allowed to root for him. Okay, you can't go against Aaron because of Jimmy. That's all I had to hear was Jimmy, and he only threw the ball 8 times. It was the running game. Okay, the running game is the reason why he got there. Okay, and then he wasn't that good in the Super Bowl. Now,
listen, he had a chance to win it all. You know, that missed throw to Sanders. He beat the guy who beat him in double coverage. He had a chance.
He did, and you know what? Hey, I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but right now he's kind of his team is what's making him good right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you look at how he's played throughout. Like he didn't have a bad year. Like he's not like a quarterback that look like you're bad.
Yeah.
But like they had an elite defense, and
Yes.
I would put the 49ers defense as elite. You know, they had a couple games where they let up a lot of points, like the Saints games and things like that. And there was times where they were like able to keep up with them, and obviously they beat the Saints and they were able to put up a lot of points. But and like, for example, like the perfect example is like that Week 16 game against the Rams. Like they win that game because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Because Jimmy Garoppolo on that last drive, like is just like balls to the wall, let's go, makes all the throws, gets them in field goal range, they win the game. And and he has those flashes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the 49ers went after him. I think it's just the fact that they don't have as many wide receiver threats, or their wide receivers are very, very young, like Deebo Samuel, right? And then you have they just brought in Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
But like they have a running game and they have a defense they can rely upon. So they don't need Jimmy Garoppolo to be like this amazing, kind of QB, but he does need to make those throws, when he needs to. Like he needs to make those clutch throws, because he's not a Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl can throw 2 interceptions, but can still rally the team.
That's right.
And make those throws. That's the difference. Jimmy Garoppolo, when the pressure's really, really on, he showed that he could do it in a couple games, but in the Super Bowl, it didn't work out.
Hey, Tom, what's going on? This is Ben, Kenny's co-host. Great again to have you on the show. You just referenced it, the Super Bowl recently between the 49ers and the Chiefs. What is your overall takeaway on not just the Super Bowl itself, like how the game went, but what do you think about the Chiefs and their 3 double-digit comebacks this playoffs? I think they were a pretty special team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it couldn't have happened any other way. I think that what that team went through was just, if it wasn't them, I wanted it to be the Titans, because the Titans had this amazing Cinderella story as well.
Yes.
I personally, I would have loved to see the Ravens go up against the Chiefs, because I thought that would have been a great AFC championship game. And it was a good game still. But I think the Chiefs, they show the kind of team that, their defense is not elite. They have some pieces and they came up clutch when they had to. But I think it was just hey, we know where our strengths are, and it's Patrick Mahomes. We have, Travis Kelce, we have all these wide receiver threats will beat you with speed. But what it comes down to is when they're down 10 points or down double digits, that they give the ball to Patrick Mahomes and they say, go win us the game. And he did. And I think that just happened over and over and over again, whether you're looking at film from the Texans game and him on the sideline. He's it's not done. They're down 24-0 at the beginning of the second quarter. And he's not getting dejected. He's not, having a towel over his head. He's let's go. Let's go do it. And you knew, you watched that game, you knew as soon as they scored, the first touchdown, you're okay. As soon as they score that second touchdown, you're it's done. You're there's no way. And then they start fumbling it, and then there's going for it on 4th down. For the Texans, they made a whole bunch of boneheaded decisions, but you knew it was done. They had all the momentum in the world. That's a team that proves how important momentum is within a game.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Now, kind of bring it back to the Packers. What would you take away from this season in terms of the good things, the positive things? Because we wanted to get the negative stuff out of the way.
Sure.
Like I just said, what would you take away from this season? How would you grade Matt LaFleur as his first year head coach? What do you think they could do? What do you think this team can do to build on from this season going into next season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I said this, so I think this is one of the weird things, that going into these playoffs, and especially going to the NFC Championship game, I was the most calm that I have ever been. And the reason I was is because I was kind of going into it, I was holy crap, man. We have had 2 years in a row where we didn't make the playoffs. Last year was the first time since he became a starter that we didn't make the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers playing every single game. And that was kind of obviously a wake-up call. We just fired Mike McCarthy. We have a new offensive coordinator. We have, new defensive pieces, all these new free agents, new head coach, all this nuance that is entering Green Bay. We don't have a second wide receiver. We just don't. Alan Lazard came through. Clutch, near the end, and I think he could develop into a strong number 2 or a number 3 guy. But I think, for Packers fans, if you told them at the beginning of the season that your team's going to go 13-3, finish number 2 in the NFC, win a playoff game, and go to the NFC Championship game, all with that nuance, I don't know who doesn't take that. So it was one of those things that I was sitting back and, I was excited, of course, obviously, the NFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl. I was like, holy crap, man. This is awesome. This is just so much better than just not having any meaningful games in January. And I think that for that, this was automatically a win for me. I don't think you could have asked for any better from Matt LaFleur and how he handled everything. Now, can he improve? Absolutely. Yeah. He needs to be more consistent with the play calling. I think he does need to be more aggressive at times. He needs to incorporate Aaron Jones and the tight ends more. But I think it's a mix of, guys like Aaron Nagler have said this too. And you notice that when the Packers were either faced with adversity or what have you, they kind of regressed back to that Mike McCarthy offense. And it makes sense because Aaron Rodgers has been in that literally for his entire career. And so I'm curious to see what kind of offense he's going to implement coming into this next season, where he could really kind of take, okay, here's what worked, here's what didn't, let's play out of this a lot more. So that was definitely a huge positive for me. The second positive is, good God, we killed it in free agency. We killed it. Absolutely. Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, golden, right? Billy Turner filled in when he had to, was great on that offensive line. And Adrian Amos provided some consistency in that backfield. So those were all wins for me. We did pretty damn well with QB pressures, getting to the quarterback, what have you. I think, where we can improve, and this goes to
the run game.
The run game, being more consistent with that, we definitely need to run the football more. But we finally need to address inside linebacker. It's been years and years and years and years. And Blake Martinez, we got a lot of value out of him, and he was a leading tackler, but he missed a lot of tackles. He was terrible in coverage. And, that's a weak spot on this team, especially against a team like the 49ers who runs a lot or over the middle, a lot of slants, that kind of stuff. That's where you're going to get beat. And so I think we definitely have to address that. And then I think we also need to go wide receiver. You need to, what you saw this year and the complete lack of weaponry, I think that really, really showed that we have one really dynamic wide receiver in Devontae Adams, and then we have an undrafted, Alan Lazard, who can become great, absolutely. But we have guys like, MVS, we have Kumaro, we have EQ was hurt this year, but Geronimo Allison, all of these guys had incredibly disappointing seasons. And, it's just a matter of okay, when are we going to cut our losses? Because that wide receiver class that we had a couple years back, where we went balls to the wall with wide receivers, just hasn't panned out. And I would not be surprised the Packers start dipping and getting a new wide receiver this offseason.
Oh, sorry. You wanted to go, Ben?
Yeah. Tom, I was just going to ask you, actually. Looking at Aaron Rodgers right now, the man, he's a bad man, of course. He still is. He still is. Now he's 36 years old. He's starting, I think, to get toward the end of his career. I say he's still got, a good 2-3 years left in him.
Well, Zadarius Smith said he's got 10 years left. So
he said he was going to help him lift weights.
Yeah,
he's I'll put him in the gym. Well, he's in the back 9 of his career.
Yeah. I mean, overall, on the season, give me your thoughts on how you think he performed and what he could improve upon, for next season.
Yeah, no, I think you saw him miss a lot of throws. Yeah, I think you saw him miss. You saw him make some. That's one throw that he hit Jamal Williams in the back of the end zone.
I was going nuts when that happened.
That was amazing.
That's one of the most disgusting throws I've ever seen in my life, and I'm just yep. So that's the thing. He still is that damn good.
I know.
The consistency on which he can make those throws has seemed to drop off a bit, and at the same time, I think you do have to put some stock in who he's throwing to or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it is a brand new offensive scheme. There was this constant oh God, Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are not going to get along this season. Audibles. And again, what you saw is that I think you saw a quarterback going through growing pains after being in a system for, over a decade and then, hopping into Matt LaFleur. But I think the, Packers fans need to be very honest with themselves and say, listen, we have a few more years left of, he's not prime, but you know what I mean? Like, it's still like great Aaron Rodgers. And, we just have to make the most of it while we can, because watching him is really, it's something. It still is something. And I think what I said in the beginning of this season, and what I've been saying for years, is that, while we have completely relied on Aaron Rodgers to take us to the playoffs, to take us to Super Bowls, what have you, that basically the buck stopped with him. Meaning that if Aaron Rodgers played poorly, the Packers played poorly, and vice versa. And what the Packers need to start doing, and I believe they are starting to do, is they're starting to actually finally build a team around him. Because for years, it was just like, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers' show, and that's it. But now, where he's not able to consistently make all of those amazing throws, you need to put a team around him, like Aaron Jones, and give him some wide receivers and, get him some tight ends to throw to, in which he doesn't have to do all of the work. So he can still be that amazing quarterback, and at the same time put a freaking defense on the other side of the field, and not have to make him, go and come back, 20, 30 points. Because you look at the playoff games in which that Aaron Rodgers has lost in his career, either one, they've gotten to overtime and he's never gotten the ball back, or two, the defense is allowing, 30, 40 points. And at that point, you just have to be like, okay, Aaron, well, just go out and start chucking the ball and let's hope for the best. It's complete insanity to think that he's going to be able to do that consistently year in and year out. I still think he had a great season. He's still one of the most accurate QBs when it comes to not throwing interceptions. And I think it's just a matter of the Packers need to adapt to this, older Aaron Rodgers who's not going to be able to make every single throw an amazing one.
I agree with you. Because the reason why I guess I was like very deflated after this most recent playoff elimination is, the guy's 36 now, going on 37. He's not going to have that many opportunities. Like, there's not that many. Yeah, he's on the back nine. He doesn't. He's not going to have that many more opportunities where he gets this close to getting to another Super Bowl. I mean, obviously. I hate to bring up 2014, but he was, early 30s. It's like, hey, the guy's still got plenty of football left. Who, he's going to be back here again. And just the frustrating playoff losses. I mean, the overtime loss to Arizona, and then you had the collarbone in 17, and you missed it in 18. Well, obviously I missed the Atlanta game from 2016, but it's frustrating because you want to see this guy get there because he deserves another Super Bowl. And you could say that about Drew Brees. I mean, these guys,
100%.
These guys 100%. These guys deserve more than one Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping that they address, the run defense, because that was a major flaw that kind of got exposed. And like you said, with Matt LaFleur developing, and learning, and I just hope that he learns how to adjust better and be able to do that in game, because you definitely did not see that during the NFC Championship game. And that was a question I was going to ask you. Like, do you think that it was more personnel or coaching? And you said coaching, because that is coaching.
I think a lot of it's coaching, because you saw that happen throughout the year, like where they would fall behind. We got to, like, you look at some specific games, like the Chargers game, and then you look at like the 49ers game, like we fell away from our game plan, and because of that, we looked like a chicken with the head to cut off. But, but to your point, like I 100% agree. But the one problem I have with that is that I think that, as NFL fans, like we look at, Tom Brady, right? And you as Giants fans know this very well. You look at that and you're like, holy crap, man. Like, this guy has 6 Super Bowl rings, has been to the Super Bowl 8 times. Like, it's insanity. That doesn't happen. Like, that is an anomaly. Like, that's something that you're not going to see, for another for another decade, maybe. Like, maybe 2 decades, that you see someone that consistently is going to there, that they're able to field that kind of team. And I think that, it puts a damper on those guys like Drew Brees. It puts a damper on the guys like Aaron Rodgers. And Peyton Manning for a long time. Yeah. And I have to say, while I would love if the defense all of a sudden pulled his head out of its ass and dragged Aaron Rodgers' old 40-year-old carcass to the Super Bowl to give him one more ring, sure, I'm going to cheer and I'm going to be happy. But like that last year at Peyton Manning, you're just like,
talk about a defense carrying you. I mean,
he's got to go. Like, it's not good.
Yeah, you saw it with those guys. All right, so one last quick thing before you go, because we're running out of time here, is what was your reaction to Kirk Cousins' first playoff victory?
Ooh, good one.
I was actually upset because I wanted to play the Saints because I thought the Seahawks could beat the 49ers because I really didn't want to play the 49ers.
Yeah. I didn't really want to play. I didn't really want the Packers playing the Saints, but it's.
I thought in Lambeau, I thought they had a better shot. But
yeah,
listen, he that was another one. Yeah, at the very end, they put the ball in his hands and he made it happen. So I think Kirk, showed that because he put up some damn good stats this year. Absolutely, he put up some damn good stats this year.
He definitely answered the critics.
Yes, he did. Now, at times, though, there were when you didn't have Dalvin Cook.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yep. Yes.
And that's the thing. In that Saints game, Dalvin Cook is like, here I go again.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It just kept
96
happening.
yards,
And then in the 49ers
touchdowns,
game.
And that guy was a force all season.
Yeah, exactly.
He was.
Yes, and that's the thing. You didn't have Dalvin Cook against the Packers in Week 16, and we killed them.
I was so happy to see that. I was so happy with that. I was like, they finally won in that building.
I know. I'm so happy about that. So that's the thing. I would have never paid Kirk Cousins $84 million. No. Never in a million years. I laughed when it happened. They're in cap hell, and it makes me so happy to see them cry. But on top of that, they have one more year with Kirk Cousins, and I'm very curious to see if they're going to wind up re-signing him, to a cheaper deal, after those 3 years are over. Right. Because, can you win with Kirk Cousins? They showed that they could put, a playoff team together. But you could argue that a lot of that's Dalvin Cook, who's going to have to get paid. And on top of that, you're having a lot of defensive guys, so there's going to be eventual turnover because they are going to be in cap hell for paying a mediocre quarterback $84 million guaranteed.
Great stuff, Tom.
And I can't wait.
Sorry. Yeah. Great stuff, Tom.
I need to throw that in.
Yeah. No, great stuff. We really appreciate you coming on again. Hopefully we could do this again. Continued success with the YouTube channel. We'll continue to watch and subscribe and like. We'll make sure to spread your channel throughout the entire Quinnipiac community and beyond that. It was fun. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Much appreciated, guys. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, Quinnipiac is a beautiful campus. I have been there. There's a large school. A lot of potential subscribers out there. So
there is definitely. We'll start sending out flyers.
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right, take care, Tom.
See you, Tom.
Take care.
And that was Tom Grossi. You could follow him at Tom Grossi Comedy on Instagram, all the local platforms. Obviously, check out his YouTube channel. He's got great stuff there. Great show as always. That is all the time we got for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's now nighttime. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next Tuesday here on Infinite Sports Radio. I'm Kenneth Grunfelder, along with Ben Upson, signing off. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.